All right, we were talking about how in an isosceles not isosceles. Whoa, what am I doing? This is not isosceles. In a normal trapezoid, the only rule you can follow is that consecutive angles are supplementary, and only the ones like this, like the kind of, I don't know, it looks like a hug to me, but those angles are supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to just solve. And x equals 4. This problem only said in the instructions up here, solve for x, so we're actually done. We could plug x in and figure out how many degrees this angle is, and I'm going to do that just so we can talk about something real quick. Again, this is not part of the problem, it's just something I want to talk about. If this question asked about the measure of angle T or the measure of angle U, you actually can't do that because it's a regular trapezoid and there's no relationships between these and those besides that together they add up to 360. So just please be careful. If it's not isosceles, that's as much as you can do. All right, and the last one, but I'm going to add an extra example just to be super clear, is a kite. And we want to find the measure of angle STV. This is the one we want. All right, and I'm going to show you two ways to do it actually, because I've been doing it one way, but I just saw another way. I've been looking at it like this right triangle right here. And I know that the triangle angle sum theorem tells us that the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we would have 90 plus 9x plus 1 plus 23x minus 7 equals 180. This is one way to do it. You could also take this 90 off and have this part equal to 90, but we're going to end up there anyway, so it's fine. So it'll be 32x plus 84 equals 180. Okay, so x equals 3, and we can plug that in. It would make the most sense to plug it in here because we're going to need that kind of idea. So we could plug it in here, which means that this would be 9 times 3, which is 27, so that angle would be 28 degrees. If that's 28 degrees, keep in mind that here we have this isosceles triangle. And in an isosceles triangle, base angles are congruent, which means that this angle also is 28 degrees. And that would be the answer. Okay, that's one way. The other way would be, and you don't have to watch this, but I would like you to watch the next part, so I would. The other way would be to look at that isosceles triangle to begin with. If we do that, and I'm going to redraw it just so you can kind of take a look. I'm just drawing that part. We know that this is 9x plus 1, and this is 23x minus 7. We also know that this is a bisector of that angle, so that would be 23x minus 7. And that in an isosceles triangle, base angles are congruent, so that would be 9x plus 1. If you look at it that way, you'll have this angle of the isosceles triangle, and that angle. And again, the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180. So you would add up all these. So 9 plus 9 plus 23 plus 23 would be 64x. And then 1 minus 7 plus 1 minus 12 equals 180. And then we would solve that. And we get the same answer for x, plug it back in, we get the same thing. So either way, this works. Okay, whatever way you see it, this is going to work as long as you do the calculations right. All right, let's do one more cool thing before we're done. I'm going to draw another kite. These are some kind of popular question styles. Some may say, here's our kite. What's the perimeter? Perimeter is the sum of the sides of a figure. So you would need some information given to you. It may give you like, this is 3 and that's 4, and this is, I don't know, I'm just going to put 6 just for fun. It might just give you this amount of information. If it gives you just this amount of information, you can still find the perimeter, because in a kite, the diagonals are perpendicular. Okay. That gives you a right triangle, or 4 of them really, to choose from. Here's a right triangle here. If I want to figure out the missing side, knowing that we have 2 sides already, we're looking for the third side, you should be using the Pythagorean theorem. 4 squared plus 3 squared equals x squared. All right, we need to find the length of this side. So that's going to be 16 plus 9 equals x squared. 25 equals x squared. Square root both sides, so that side is 5. Okay. This is also a special right triangle, 3, 4, 5. If you have that memorized, it's helpful. In a kite, the consecutive sides like this are congruent. So if this is 5, this is 5 also. So we're almost there. We're going to go down here and focus on this right triangle, which is also a right triangle because in a trapezoid or a kite, the diagonals are perpendicular. Also, this is a linear pair, so that works too. We need to do the Pythagorean theorem again. 6 squared plus 3 squared equals x squared. I'm going to use the decimal equivalent, so it's about 6.7, which means that this side and this side are both 6.7. So even though we are talking about a kite, we use triangle stuff, the Pythagorean theorem, to figure out those sides and to find the perimeter. All we have to do is add up 5 plus 5 plus 6.7 plus 6.7, and we have that the perimeter is 23.4. All right, so that's one way that you can use kites. Can't find my little controls there, so we're just going to keep it like this. That's one way to use kites. And just because, let's do this for fun, since I think we have some time, we can also figure out the angles in this kite, which is kind of cool. So if we're going to look at this yellow one over here, we can figure out the angles. Tying sides and angles together in a right triangle would be trig. Because we know all 3 sides, we can choose to use sine, cosine, or tangent. I'm going to go with the pink ones that I wrote to begin with. So, and I'm going to look for this angle. All right, so from here we have opposite and we have adjacent. Hopefully that rings a bell, and you're going to use tangent. So do tangent, I'm just going to put the question mark there, of question mark equals opposite over adjacent. When we're looking for the angle, remember that we use the inverse tangent. So second tangent, and we type that in. So that tells us that the question mark, the angle, is 53.1 degrees. All right, so now this is 53.1 degrees. That means that over here, this is 53.1 degrees because of the isosceles triangle here on the top. To figure out this part right here, I'm going to add up 53.1 plus 53.1, subtract from 180, and because we know that this has been bisected, divide by 2. 36.9 degrees each. So we're using a lot of properties all tied together. I hope you kind of get the idea and have fun practicing. Bye.